Joe Samaniego from Portland International Raceway. Friday is just about wrapping up, but there was a lot of activities on the track. We'll first start with over at Kenton Station on Thursday. Several drivers were all participating at the Kenton Station for a kickoff launch party for this race weekend. That include Romain Grosjean doing radio interviews. We had Jack Harvey there. Christian Lundgaard was there. A lot of drivers and a great turnout. The fans are there, and of course the IndyCar show car was in this full display for everyone at Kenton to take a look at. Big thing, of course, was the race day here. The teams unloading, getting ready for their first practice session today. It was a very unusual first practice session today due to the fact that one of the Jumbotrons big screens along the front straightaway started leaking fluid and looked like it was about to fall off. A long red flag delay pretty much caused where all the drivers had to get out of their cars. It is a hot, sunny day here in Portland, Oregon. But overall, we saw some of the fastest drivers up towards the front. That includes Josef Newgarden, who this has to feel like a big win for him today because he was the fastest. Will Power, who is chasing the points, 10th place. Just ahead of him, Alex Palou, and behind both of them, Scott Dixon. So this was huge for their championship efforts. Of course, Scott McLaughlin, he was the third fastest. But the big story, Pato O'Ward crashing during practice. Pretty much got wide, slid, and hit the outside wall. Tough break for him. He is really in a must-win situation. The lone McLaren car that's not affiliated with Chip Ganassi or Roger Penske's Team Penske's in the championship battle. Now, one of the big things, we talked to several drivers before practice today. Here's what they had to say. Okay. Scott Dixon, welcome back to Portland. Last year you got a podium. How excited are you this year, especially in such a tight battle? And there's only Laguna Seca after this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I think Portland's it's a lot of fun, the track layout. I think the up in the air situations like turn one on the start, and then also strategy is always one that makes it interesting for all of us, but probably interesting for the fans at home too, which is what IndyCar is about. So yeah, we'll go into this race with just an open mind and hope that it rolls our way if it needs to go in that scenario. But ultimately, just focus on having great speed and a car that's possible has a chance to win.
Now you, Marcus Ericsson, Alex Palou on the championship hunt, as well as all three Penske drivers. Does this get everyone in Chip Ganassi Racing all riled up? Like, let's go out there and beat the Penske drivers?
Yeah, not even just about the Penskes, but I think Chip, wants to do everything possible to be 1, 2, 3 in the championship. That may be a little bit more difficult after St. Louis. I think the 8 and the 9 have a clear shot. The 10 maybe a little further back, but ultimately we've seen in IndyCar racing that anything can happen, and if a couple of people have a bad day, then it's going to be all to play for in Laguna Seca. So yeah, for us we'll just focus on our race and hopefully we can be 1, 2, 3, 4 come Sunday here in Portland, and that makes things a lot easier once we get to Laguna.
And then last question, Portland International Raceway, you mentioned that first corner last year, you were all victims of what happened going to the back. Is that any concern? Do you put that back behind it, or do you still approach that first corner just thinking, where is everybody?
Yeah, you can't, again, overanalyze stuff too much. I think they're trying to open up some precautions, starting the race, or at least the start zone a little bit earlier so that the field gets a little more spread out. Going into turn one, they've added a couple of different chicanes, so if you do choose to do that, we'll have to see what they call it to be. Whereas last year, even if we used a chicane, they still put us to the back, which we didn't think was fair or was going to happen, so that definitely made it interesting. But honestly, that put us on the right strategy to win the race anyway. So yeah, those things, was what happened last year. We got hit from behind. I can't control that. So, just be eyes forward and trying to do the obvious things right.
Scott Dixon, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you.
Thanks, man. Cheers. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Jimmie Johnson, welcome back, Portland. Last year you had a pretty good run going here at this track. How excited are you to be here again?
Yeah, it's great to be back. I really enjoyed the test session and then also the race weekend that I had here last year. I'm excited to be back. The weather looks great, and I can't wait to get on the racetrack.
Now, we know with Portland, the first corner, first lap, always seems to be a little bit of chaos. Last year, we saw a little bit about that, but not too badly. You seem to go through okay. Does that bring any concern to you this year?
Yeah, I think that's probably on the top of everyone's minds. you can help yourself the most with a great qualifying position and be at the head of it all. So that's certainly the goal and the objective. If that doesn't play out, it's really being on your toes and understanding who you're around, what's going on in that braking zone, and where your bailout plan will be if something does go wrong. So last year I managed that environment pretty well and made it through.
And we see last year, anticipating this year, you, Romain, had the largest following in the crowds. How much does it mean, especially when you see a lot of fans coming from the NASCAR realm following you, and then even some, they still remember from your trophy truck days?
Yeah, when I'm on the West Coast, I seem to find more off-road race fans that remember me from decades ago, bouncing around in stadiums and deserts. But I've been very, kind of touched and excited to see how many NASCAR fans have moved over to the IndyCar space and are following it, and certainly becoming avid fans as a result. There's such a great product here in the IndyCar series. Great teams, great drivers, great competition, and arguably the toughest competition on the planet. Certainly in an open wheel setup, this is the most competitive form of open wheel racing on the planet. So it's cool to be a part of it, and I'm glad my fans have crossed over.
And last question, I know you had some strong runs in the ovals this year. When it comes to the ovals, do you feel like that's just something where from all the years in stock cars, that's been huge? And is there still more for the following years where we can anticipate you podium or even in victory lane?
Yeah, I really would love to improve on my finishes, and I felt like Iowa, I could have finished better both days than where I ended up. The ovals, the way you carry momentum through the turns is just a skill that I've developed. These street and road courses require a different skill set with the braking and all that takes place. So I'm still trying to get that part locked down, but it's been a great challenge and a lot of fun.
Jimmie, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Got it. Thank you.
Marcus Ericsson, Indy 500 champion. Welcome to Portland. How excited are you for this weekend?
I'm very excited. It's fun to be here. I only been here once before, and that was last year, and it was a fun weekend, a track I really enjoyed. So looking forward to getting out there today and drive again.
Now we know some drivers are superstitious. Last year, Alex Palou had the PNC colors, pole, got the win from the back. Is there a reason when you got the PNC colors this weekend?
I'm not superstitious, but I do like that fact that he did that last year, so I like that to continue this year, obviously. But yeah, it's cool. I'm really proud to represent PNC Bank this weekend, and be fun to have those colors on the car.
Now, overall, we heard Romain Grosjean, who you raced in F1, said it feels like this track, it's fun, but it's just missing something. He's just like another chicane, a corner. How do you feel about Portland International Raceway?
I don't think it's missing anything. I think it's fun. It's intense. It has some good flow to it, and some good mix of high speed and slow speed corners. So I'm a big fan of it, actually.
And it's all done within less than a minute, 59, 58 second laps. Does that just add to the intensity, especially when it comes to the pit crew trying to perform perfect pit stops and not losing positions?
Yeah, it makes it even harder, I think, with being such a short lap, because it's not a lot of corners, and it gets really tight in qualifying and in the race. So I think that adds to the challenge of this circuit.
And then, of course, the challenge of the IndyCar Championship in the hunt still. Overall, how huge would that be? Because you got the Indy 500, you got a couple wins to add that IndyCar champion. How huge would that be?
Yeah, that would be massive. Obviously, doing the double, it's not many that has done that. It's been over 10 years since Dario did it. I think was the last guy that did it. So that's the goal. I know it's going to be tough, but I think we have a very good shot at it. We're fourth in the championship, but really close to P1. So we have two really strong weekends. We can do it, and that's my mindset going into these last two races.
Marcus Ericsson, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Welcome back to Portland. 3 points behind your teammate Will Power. Does that change any of your approach, or is it just like any normal race?
I think like any normal race, the big thing for us is getting the most out of the weekend, see where we qualify and make the most of it.
Now, of course, best finish here, 5th place, Will Power has to win. Is there any mind games that occur? We know some drivers do that, but with teammates, or is it just big focus on each other's race and not try to miss the other one?
Well, there's always mind games. Everyone's always trying to posture, but I think the focus is the big winner here this weekend. Everyone's trying to focus on, what they need to do individually for this race and this championship, and that's the big story.
Now, qualifying last year didn't go exactly well for you guys, but you were all here last weekend testing. Do you feel like when it comes to qualifying this year, you're all going to be up towards the front?
I think so. I think, we tested here a week ago, which was helpful. We got to see the track in cold and hot conditions. We needed, a little bit more information than we had last year, and I felt like we got that a week ago. So, my feeling is I feel a lot more confident that we can bring a car to qualify, super well here when we get to it tomorrow.
And of course, Sunday, first lap, everyone's talking about that first corner. We saw last year, some drivers, they avoided the mess, but they got sent towards the back. Is there any concern about if you're up front, just being aware of like not only potentially getting caught up, but a penalty like that and heading towards the back?
Yeah, these things are hard to predict, but I think ideally you want to qualify up front as best as you can, and then try and work through the race however it evolves. It's easy to get caught up in a mess at the front or the back. You don't know where it's going to happen each race, and it seems to always change. So just being on your toes is most important.
Josef Newgarden, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Portland. I know we listened to you in the testing about last year. Qualifying didn't go great, but you got to win here. How excited are you to be here, especially leading up to then Laguna Seca?
Yeah, really love this track. Really suits me. Really good to test last week. Found some great stuff. So I'm hoping that it translates to the condition this weekend. It's going to be quite a bit cooler tomorrow. So I think we'll be good. It's going to be a tight fight, man, and so it should be.
And a tight fight with also Josef Newgarden, Scott McLaughlin, and then of course you got the couple drivers, so Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, Paddle Award. 7 drivers, tightest championship bout in 19 years for the IndyCar Series. How exciting is it to be part with such a great group of drivers that are household names battling for a championship?
It's tremendous to be a part of this unbelievably talented group, and there's no tougher series in the world. It's the toughest open wheel series in the world, and I feel privileged to be a part of it and to have been a part of it over the last 17 years.
17 years, and then a lot of it with Penske, Verizon as a longtime sponsor as well. Overall, you're going for a record when it comes to qualifying to break the tie with Mario Andretti. When you look back at your IndyCar career, especially when you started in the Champ Car era, we know that was during the split, things changed. Is this something where you just look back and like find it unbelievable, like, wow, this is the journey, or is this something where you just knew I'm in a position I got to make the best of it?
I look back thinking it's unbelievable to have been able to compete and get paid to race cars. Dream come true, like truly a dream come true. It was a dream of mine as a kid to do this. Yeah, I have to pinch myself. I know I'm just extremely fortunate to do this. It's a very lucky career.
Will Powers, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks. Callum, welcome back to Portland. Last year when we chatted, about to enter your first race, how will you rate everything so far since last year in Portland?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a roller coaster, I'd say. Didn't really know what I was getting myself in for at the end of last year, but it's come a long way. Team's come a long way. I think we should be on for a good weekend.
Now, you mentioned the team's come a long way. 2023 planning is already underway. How excited are you about next year, especially going to be coming back to a lot more tracks again, potentially a second car? How's everything all shaping up?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it would be nice to right the wrongs of this year when you could have done a better job. But I think, coming in with the way the team is, I think we should have a second car. So that will make everything interesting and make it easier, my life a little bit easier as a team to help them. But yeah, it's nice to relax and I can focus a bit more on the smaller things now.
Now, last year I remember while we were all here in Portland, you had folks from Chevrolet come in introducing you. Welcome to the Chevrolet family. Of course, all the differences of racing in the United States. How have you enjoyed racing in the United States, and what was some of the biggest adjustments, especially from racing in Europe?
It's been an eye-opener. I think one of the main things that I've started to realise is it's been back-to-back every weekend. We haven't had massive amount of breaks, which is something to get used to, but a bit different. I think in the American racing as well, it's tough racing. It's hard, it's long, very competitive out here. You've got a lot of good drivers. And yeah, I think just having a bit more patience in some circumstances helps a lot. something I need to learn. You know, being young, I was always pushing 110% to try and make everything happen, and that's not the way you need to be.
Now, have any of your colleagues that you used to race against in Europe, have they called like, hey, how is this IndyCar, and even expressed interest in coming?
Yeah, there's a lot that have asked and are definitely interested in the way it works. There's a few that, or one or two that might make the commitment, but there's been a lot of interest, but I don't know how many of them are going to go, you know, okay, I want to do it. It's not as well known, and when I say well known, I don't mean everyone knows IndyCar, but it's like not as well understood. So people want to understand what it's like, what the racing's like, how it works politically, the deals and all of that, and it's just something that side is quite unknown, and so they're asking, and there was a lot of interest, and they see it as a good option, but it's a big jump for a lot of people.
And one big jump we know, the ovals. Overall, you feel pretty comfortable with the ovals, and it's still an area of a lot of learning, or you feel like you're getting the hang of it pretty well?
I think the short ovals, I've got a good hang of it. We had great results at Iowa. Gateway, the race pace was good. Unfortunately, I made a mistake in the pit stop. But the speedway, I think I've still got a lot to learn there. I think setting up the car and finding my feet on that side it's a big thing and a long thing, and especially with only one car in the team, there was nothing to really chase or look at or understand, so everything was off of me, and I had no idea in that sense of what I was doing. So yeah, I think when we put all of that together next year, it will be the biggest area of improvement, hopefully.
And then for your expectations for this weekend, I know last year the race was a little short with mechanical issue. What are you anticipating for Portland?
Yeah, we had a good weekend last year, considering all the little issues we had. I mean, I could list it very long, but yeah, I think putting that all together, we had a good race weekend last year, and I think with the way the car is this year, should be. I think we can push for our best result.
Callum, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Conor, welcome back to Portland. Overall, how excited are you for this race weekend?
Well, this is one of the tracks that I've raced at like the least in my IndyCar career, so it's just nice to get back and get some more experience. Qualified well here year one, but every year we've raced here, I've been a victim of the turn one chicane, so hopefully we can finally make it through. But it's a great racetrack, and we're all ready for it for sure.
Now, you mentioned that first lap, first chicane area. I know you, for a while, Graham Rahal seemed to have the bad luck of every year being involved. Is there just something about that where I know Will Power during testing suggested maybe starting to race in the backstretch to avoid what we're seeing? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, honestly, it's just kind of the nature of the circuit, but realistically, the responsibility remains on us, right? Like, we're the ones who hit each other, and like we're, so if we as drivers can be, make slightly smarter decisions, that would be perfect. So we'll see what happens. I think they're going to move the start a little bit earlier, not quite on the back straight, but a little bit earlier, which will be helpful, because if everyone's slightly separated a little bit more than, row by row, nose to tail, it might help. So we'll see. Hopefully we can all finally make it through here nice and clear.
And of course, one of the things we saw last year was how we saw some of the drivers up front get a penalty, go to the back, and work their way towards the front. Does that make it where qualifying, we know it's always important, but in the event, mid-pack, back of the field, the potential of a caution and the timing, you could be up there towards the front?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about IndyCar racing is you can win from anywhere, you know what I mean? And I remember seeing where Alex Palou went last year and how so many of us got sent to the back last year. But if the strategy works out, if you time it perfectly, I mean, it doesn't matter where you start. So it matters to be fast when you have clear track, to pit at the right times, and if you can make that happen, it's still possible to have a great result. So it's one of those things that I like about this place, is that, strategy can play in quite a lot. But we'll see what happens. Qualifying is always going to be important because it makes life a lot easier on you. But if something happens, anything's possible still.
And overall, how would you rate your season? I know racing full-time, Ed Carpenter racing, it's been a lot of fun. And especially we know you got a huge fan following, especially over at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. How would you rate everything?
Well, honestly, all the stuff at Indy has been great. We had 3 really good qualifying results at Indy, good races at the 500. every year you want to have a shot at winning the Indy 500, and we were very, very close this year, which is awesome. So overall, I think there's a few places where we just missed out a little bit on some results that hurts, because I think we could have shown a lot better than we have. But we also have, some key things that both, for Renus and I for next year that I think we know we need to improve on. And, that's the goal in the off season, right? Is like to show up better for next year. But realistically, like statistically, it has been one of my better years, which is nice.
Conor, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Standing here with Romain Grosjean. Romain, last time we chatted was during the testing. Overall, how did the testing went, and how do you feel about Portland International Raceway?
Testing wasn't great. We struggled with the car all day long. We were trying a different setup philosophy from our teammates. It didn't really work, but the good thing is that teammates were fast, so we're just going to copy them and hopefully get a good car here. It's a very challenging racetrack. It's a little too short. 58-second lap time feels like we needed an extra part of the circuit to get to a 1:10 or a minute 10 seconds, something like that. But it's definitely challenging.
Now, you mentioned that during the testing, it feels like there was a section missing. If you were to be able to redesign Portland International, what kind of section would you add in?
I would, after the fast chicane 10-11, I would actually go straight and do an hairpin or something like that in the car park, and then come back in 90 degrees left onto the back, the start-finish line, just creating an extra, a bit of an overtaking zone with that hairpin, and a good setup for the straight line.
That would be fun. Now, I know overall your family moved over from France, been traveling around the United States. How is they enjoying everything? And have they been to the Portland area yet?
No, they didn't come here. It's a little bit too far from Miami. It's basically almost as far as you can get within the US. So it's like 11 and a half hours of total travel time. So I didn't bring them here yet, but next year if I'm fighting for the championship in the last two races, they're probably going to be around.
And then after here, Laguna Seca, the season finale. Last year, a lot of people were talking about you and that performance. Is that sort of the track where you feel you can end the season on a high?
I think both Portland and Laguna, we can be strong. So I love Laguna. It's an iconic track, but this weekend is all about Portland, and hopefully we can stand on the top step of the podium on Sunday.
Romain, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Devlin, last time we chatted, you were testing here. Have you learned much where you feel like you got a really good shot at getting a top 10 or even a podium finish this weekend?
Well, after we last talked, our afternoon seemed to go way up, and we seemed to learn quite a bit and produce quite a strong lap time at the end of our tests. Right in line with our teammates, and our team's had a very strong track record here. So I'm all for this weekend. I think it's going to be a very good weekend for myself and the number 29 crew. We have Jones Soda on board with us, so it'd be great to get them a good strong finish.
The Jones Soda livery looks really great. Portland International Raceway, I know you raced here before. Well, overall, how will you rate this track with some of the other tracks in the IndyCar series?
Jones, this place is very fun, Portland. It's very strong. It's very fast, extremely fast. You need to take a lot of risks here. And I think that's really what it takes, what differentiates the really good guys here from maybe the guys that are just decent here.
And the Shelton chicane, the first corner, formerly known as the Festival Corners, we know that first lap is going to be a lot of chaos going on. Usually the last 3 years we've had wrecks occur on that first lap. What's sort of the mindset going into that first corner, especially if you have cars all around you?
To be very honest, I think it's just hope you get through and hope you don't get hit, to be very honest with you. From the starts and restarts that I've watched, it seems to be a bit of a lottery. So, IndyCar have taken some measures. We had a deep driver briefing this morning to go through it, so we'll see if this year's any better.
And for your rookie season here in the IndyCar series, which track you felt like was the most challenging, and which one do you enjoy the most?
I'd say, Road America was a big enjoyable track for me. Gateway, a strong finish there and a strong running for me. I'd say the longer I've just been, all through this season, I've seemed to get more comfortable with the car and things like that. So I really think these last two are going to be strong for me.
Devlin, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right. Now, a couple of big things. Marcus Ericsson, today is his birthday, so he will love to have a race win on his birthday weekend. Josef Newgarden, despite being the fastest, he's going to have a grid penalty coming up for the race. And then the big news that was dropped by Jenna Fryer, who is here at Portland International Raceway, that McLaren are willing to buy out Alex Palou from Chip Ganassi Racing. so that he could race there. But of course, the big news, Oscar Piastri will be driving the McLaren Formula 1. So where does Alex Palou fit? Will he be in IndyCar? Could he be in Formula E? Could we see a switch with involving Felix Rosenqvist, who was one of the drivers in the post-practice press conference today? So overall, a lot of news shakeups here at Portland International Raceway. And then one of the big things we saw, Lewis Foster claiming a championship, the first championship claimed this weekend in the Indy Pro 2000. Here was his interview shortly after claiming the championship with a pole and a win. Championship, how does it feel to do it? Pole, win, and championship?
You know, it's great. Obviously, coming to this weekend, we had a good chance of winning the championship, and we didn't need to win or pole or anything. So, you know, I wanted to try and get as many points as possible and to try and win some races. So we came here and did that. So, doing both a win and to win the championship in the same race is a special feeling. So, yeah, I'm really happy.
And then, of course, the scholarship that comes with that, potential for Indy Lights. How huge is that for progressing your career in the Road to Indies program?
Yeah, no, it's massive. 100%. You know, the award that you get for winning Indy Pro is amazing. So yeah, that's really going to help me move up to hopefully Lights next year. But yeah, looking forward to what the future holds.
Once again, congratulations and thank you so much for your time. We'll see you at the track again.
Thank you.
Thank you. So a lot of action going on in Portland tomorrow. We still have more Indy Pro 2000, USF 2000, Indy Lights. They're going to get their weekend started. They had one practice session today, and then of course more IndyCar action for the Grand Prix of Portland. Be sure to subscribe to the GRIDnet right here. Click the bell icon as we upload more videos, including more driver interviews and coverage. Then don't forget, Saturday, Grid Live pre-race. We're going to be discussing all the races outside of Portland with Formula 1, MotoGP, and the NASCAR Cup Series. Then noon Eastern Sunday, special Grid Live pre-race right here for the Grand Prix of Portland, and then a special Grid Live wrap-up on Monday, around noon Eastern, with all the races, and then Grid Encore with Ben Schneider following that to report on everything that occurred with USF 2000, Indy Lights, and Indy Pro 2000. We want to thank our Patreon subscribers for keeping us on the air. Your investments help us pay the bills, make this weekend possible, and we want to thank everyone for tuning in right here on the Grid Network. Joe Samaniego from Portland.